morning, everybody. We're Pocket Aces. Chris Lawrence is our team captain or team lead. We're going to speak to you today with one voice. Our innovation is both a strategic and a tactical value acquisition that not only bolsters our existing primary trucking products, but it also positions us with a high value add for positioning with another data partner. So with that, Chris, I'll ask you to go ahead and get us started.
All right, today we're talking about Project Take It to the Lake. Why Take It to the Lake? Because Robert Lake needs to know about this, and I'm looking for you guys to tell him why. All right, what is Project Take It to the Lake?
Awesome.
It's a strategic acquisition opportunity. What are we going to buy? The Vindicoder and Development Company we use for all of our Randall Riley trucking products. With this strategic acquisition, we will secure access to this critical vindicoating source and control costs. We'll be able to leverage their technology to open new revenue streams. We also shall gain leverage over industry targets to secure data sharing partnerships. What are our pain points? Well, currently we rely on one single high-value vendor for all of our vindicoating. We have no long-term protection in an existing agreement. Vindicoating is a critical element to all of our trucking data products. Risk to data access if it's acquired by others, and needed leverage in efforts to acquire registration data. What are the areas of impact? Number one, reduced risk. Financial impact. After testing multiple vendors, this developer proved to be the best. If this vendor increased the cost, we would be forced to accept whatever increase that was. Uninterrupted access, this one's huge. We have no written contract with our current vendor that protects our usage. There is no express language that addresses it from the vendor, but things could change. If they decided that we could no longer publish the data that we get from them, it would disrupt all of our trucking products. This would also give us improved industry position. If we own this vendor, we would be a vendor for a company who happened to come in yesterday that owns title data, which would greatly increase our leverage for a currently tentative data partnership.
So not only in those first 2 points on the financial interest and the risk assessment, before we decided to do business with them and afterward as a vendor partner, we did test and look at others in the field, and they proved to continue to be the most accurate and most reliable. That continues to be the case.
Protect and strengthen our position in the industry. First of all, Randall Riley product enhancements. We could leverage some of their current technologies to launch batch processing or API calls for top bid and serial number guide. Currently, these products are forms over data on a website where somebody has to log in, they put in some search criteria and hope to find what they want. The batch processing would allow us to take CSV files from people. They could upload them with manufactured model serial number, and it could return back to them all the specifications they were looking for. We could also, with a serial number guide, instead of doing the same kind of lookup, we could use it as a reverse lookup where they pass in the serial number, much like a VIN, and it returns the last person titled, if we get that information, or at least the information about it. That's something that, of course, we've got a customer in National Equipment Register who would really like that. Improved industry position. This opportunity would make us the Vindicode vendor for a top company that controls title information for all vehicles. Also, we noticed that most competitors and even some of our previous acquisitions use this Vindicoder to decode that data. This would enable larger partnership opportunities. Then growth, this is a big one. If we are able to use this leverage with the title company to get that, we would get greater visibility into the industry. Intrastate only fleets we don't really get to see because what we collect now in census is only through inspections through weigh stations or traffic stops. So company intrastate, ones that flow only within a state's boundaries, are not captured. Those large fleets cover a lot of the GVWR class 3 through 6. Like Aaron's Rentals is a huge fleet with thousands of trucks, but we don't have any data on them because they're not interstate. This also would help offset the shrinking visibility in the trucking UCCs. we've noticed a trend that people are just filing less and less UCCs, and trucking is spotting as it is. If we actually had title information, that would be able to help greatly increase the granularity of our data.
And on the UCC side, those are also, as a reminder, primarily vocational entities. So we're seeing them because they're in those trades and normally not out on the interstate commerce as well.
Where the big money comes in is an ability to show ROI through title data. If you've heard of a current product that we have called Priority Prospects, it's exciting because we're able to partner with customers, put some code on their websites and identify the people come to their sites and then tell them, hey, we predict that these guys are most likely to buy. Well, just recently we've used UCC data to say, of the leads we sent you, these have actually purchased. This is your lost opportunity cost, and that's huge. Now, if we get the title information, we'd also be able to show ROI through the data on the trucking side. So how do we make a purchase? When acquiring a company, you need to know the annual revenue and their EBITDA. That's the earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. These things help determine a company's value. When coupled with a purchase multiplier based on the kind of business, you can estimate the purchase cost. This company last supported at around $9 million revenue per year, but that isn't likely. Other companies of its size are usually around $3 million, so we're going to do calculations at 3 points. At what we estimate $3 million, their EBITDA is around 40%. That number was given me by a source I trust. So that would put them at $1.2 million. Their multiple is a 9 because they're a development and service company. So the acquisition price would be at $10.8 million. If we say, hey, they're at the $9 million that they claim, that would put their EBITDA at $3.6 million, which makes the purchase price at $32.4. And if we kind of split the difference, then we end up with an $18 million purchase price. Key results, revenue and cost. So if we make the purchase, we get the EBITDA from that company. We also have savings from our current expense. We currently have 2 products that use this vendor. We'd also gain in IT developer resources and technologies, their API, their batch processing, and they have several developers. Risk aversion, once again, very important. We reduce future rate increases for the Vendigo products because we'd own it, and it secures that critical data source, and it would prevent a disruption in our current Randall Riley products. Staging growth. This would also provide that leverage with our registration source vendor. Hopefully we can get them to close that deal. Enable support, top bid, and serial number guide. We get the more IT developer resources, which means we have more capabilities to do more work. And we gain industry relationships because we'd be the vendors for some other people out there in the trucking thing, as well as the OEM relationships that the current Vendico vendor has.
Also opens the door for us for other growth markets that we find within that trucking space. It speaks to our core products and our core needs. Part of our vision, obviously, is that there's profit and EBITDA attached to this, and part of it clearly we view as a risk mitigation play. We're concerned, we're passionate about the fact that we really need to own that piece, not only because of the substantial leverage that it provides with registration information, but it positions us to strengthen the serial number guide and top bid and potentially other products. It gives us more of that visibility and transactional activity if we also get the registration data, so we can do those predictive things within that trucking market. Those are the things Priority Prospects is showing us on the UCC side is of great value to customers. They're seeing successes with it. We want to be able to bring that to the trucking side of the business. As far as the resources and those IT developers are concerned, they are concentrated and experienced in the trucking market, which is key to us. That knowledge would be well placed to bring in-house for other initiatives we know we need to have.
Any questions?
Awesome. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
I was especially impressed with your the purchase multiple breakdown. I thought that was really well done, and
this is an extra handout of the information of the actual company that we're talking about. We figured we'd leave that part out of the presentation,
Yep.
but this way, if you wanted to know who we're actually looking at,
Do you have any sort of ballpark estimate of what the savings from our existing vendor relationship with them would be?
the savings is pretty low, actually, because the price for Vindicoating is not a whole lot, so it would be, with our two products, about $5,000 we're saving a year. But it's not about the money we're saving, it's about the fact that we have no contract with them. There's nothing that says that we have fair use or the right to publish the information that they're giving us and give it to all our customers. So if they pulled that, our products would suffer greatly.
And FleetSeek uses them for Vindicoat.
Yes, our competitors.
So you would immediately, you would cripple a $2 to $3 million competitor.
We can disrupt the market.
So I also thought y'all did a really good job. Talk to me about how convinced we are on this company versus their competitor.
Yeah.
Great competitors. Because for example, one of the things we heard from the group yesterday was that they're switching.
Okay. Well, that would be interesting. But James Vogel and I actually spent about 8 months going through and looking at all of the other vendors. We have that information and I can provide that to you. But we looked at 8 other Vindicoat vendors that were out in the market. We gave them all of the same data and we tracked how well they did. The data COE, which I know we are no longer, has always been about the quality of our data.
And it was a pretty big
VinLink
discrepancy.
was the only one that got in the 90th percentile.
There were a few that they were not able to decode correctly. None of the others were able to decode those, and they all failed to decode some that they did successfully.
So if you graded them like, so you said they were in like the 90th percentile.
Right. There's nobody above them.
How far behind were some of their competitors? Were they like?
The closest one was in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think if I recall, part of the problem is that Volvo in particular, like, so if you switch to another brand, your product becomes eminently less useful or less accurate to a whole segment of the market.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, help me understand that.
So in other words, there's a high propensity of false positives on the Vindicoat for Volvo trucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, smaller OEM,
With
not
other-
Daimler,
Sure.
but
Yeah. What we seemed to find was that it looks like VinLink, VinPower, ESP Data had an actual relationship with Volvo and Sterling and a couple others where they went and talked to them and said, hey, this is strange, something we found, what do we do here? And they worked it out.
Yeah.
Whereas the next best one, was reporting the wrong engine manufacturer in a whole 2 years worth of their vehicles because they were just using something that they used machine learning to determine what the Vindicoat value was.
Okay. I've got one more question.
Sure.
So if I were to say, again, I really think it's really well thought out, and the two of you presented it really nicely. If I were to say, should I do this, or should I just go try to lock up a contract with that vendor?
I would say do this. Why? Because they are a development source, they're a smaller one, we could use those resources, we need more developers. Being the vendor in the marketplace puts us in a really good position to kind of start, if we want to be the bad guys, we could start swinging around those prices. So the barrier to entry is a lot harder and it protects our products. It also, maybe it doesn't give us as much leverage with Experion, but it does tell them that we're growing up. We're not just the people selling the apples, we're growing them as well.
And don't want to deviate from the positive tone of that, but from a risk mitigation standpoint, even a strong contract, at some point, we'd see some escalation in pricing.
Yeah.
And if we went for a long term, we would likely see it pretty quickly.
So, what about the distraction of operating in the automotive space, an area where we don't have focus or expertise?
How do you mean?
Because they also operate just core automotive, right? Their VIN code is used by car dealerships throughout the country.
It is, you're right. So that would allow us a new opportunity to start collecting and reporting data in that. And that is something that so far we haven't tapped into, but we do actually have that data in our current FMCSA inspections. Like if a fleet owns a couple Sonatas or vans, that information's there too. If we've got this VIN code, we can also look back to there, and I think that would help us get into parts and services. We can say, hey, we know who owns this. We can decode the VINs that they have and say, hey, they're going to need these kind of parts.
And we have so many clients across all our platforms now that have anything from a half-ton to a one-ton truck of some nature. All of our dealer environment, all of their customers do. It gives us a little opportunity to have some more insight into what they're operating and potentially also look at what they're using and needing to pull around the equipment they're trying to sell. Their own service fleets also.
That's great. I like the leave behind as well, with
Awesome.
the information on us as well.
Well, thank you guys for your time. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Good job, guys. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Wonderful.